And welcome, everyone. It is Tuesday, July 19th, 2022. You are listening or watching Full Press Hockey Weekly here on twitter.com/fullpressNHL, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Full Press coverage, Full Press NHL. Guys, we have a pretty fast paced show. I'm going solo today. Co-host Jim Behringer and Chris Wassel have commitments elsewhere that they need to take care of, but the show is going on, and we wanted to make sure we bring to you because last week we left you with our preview of NHL Free Agency, and to say it was crazy would be an understatement, especially with the biggest name on the list, Johnny Gaudreau. So some of the names we talked to Malkin. I said on Tuesday last week that I thought Malkin was going to find a way to get it done, and I still thought he ended up in Pittsburgh, and he did. One of the teams we talked about, the Columbus Blue Jackets, finding a way to bring excitement back to that city, back to that organization, back to the fans, to the team. And boy, did they do it. When everybody thought, including myself, that Johnny Gaudreau was ending up in New Jersey or with the Islanders, he comes out, and just like that, boom, he signs with the Columbus Blue Jackets. A city that no one expected him to go to, a team no one expected him to go to. How they're going to make the cap work because you got to remember Patrick Laine as a unrestricted or a restricted free agent. That's always a big thing. It's going to be a pretty interesting situation how they handle that. They have 40 contracts. They have 24 players on the roster. They have Emil Bernstrom if they want to sign. They have Patrick Laine if they want to sign. And then they have Johnny Gaudreau, 28 years old, signing 7 years, 9.75 per year. And it's an absolute banger move. I absolutely loved it. But my thought is now they have $2 million cap space. They have Patrick Laine to sign. Will they sign him or will he be traded? If they sign him, they're going to have to trade. And you look at players. You look at players like a Jakub Voracek immediately comes to mind as he's got no movement. He's got 2 years left at 8.2. He liked the situation in Columbus. But at the same time, if you're the Blue Jackets and you're Jarmo Kekalainen, you have to figure out what to do. Will they trade him in order to get that money for Laine to work? Gustav Nyquist, also 32 years old. Some people, it's hard to think that Voracek and Nyquist are the same age. But he is. Gustav Nyquist, 5.5 mil, 1 year remaining. Can they find a taker for him? That Eric and Branson deal, 4 years, 4 mil per. A lot of people were poo-pooing it. I don't hate it as much as some. The only thing I don't like is the modified no trade. But you're not really trading anybody off the blue line, where you have Rowensky, Gabranson, Gavrikov, Boquist, Bean, Blankenberg, Peak, and Bayrether. You're not really getting rid of that. Your goaltending situation, I mean, you got Korpisalo for 1 more year. You got Elvis Merzlikins for 5 more years at 5.4. So they're set there. It's where you're looking at Columbus at the top. And you got to think, in my mind, Nyquist or Voracek are the odd ones out if they re-sign Laine. But the thing is, Laine is only 24. If I'm Columbus, a lot of people he's going to get to UFA and he's going to bolt possibly to Los Angeles or somewhere west. But Columbus, I mean, if you got a guy like Gaudreau and you got Laine, man, that's a punch right there. But right now, who's your center? Roslovic. So if you're Columbus right now, it's really looking at a case where you are trying to figure out where you're going to go with what you're doing with the roster there. So it's going to be an interesting next few weeks as we get close to training camp. We're 2 months away from preseason and training camp. So Columbus, but man, I was super happy to see that deal done. I am always happy to see small markets. I'm always happy to see these teams that no one expects to make a move like that. Like a couple years ago, initially, I was really happy when Buffalo signed Taylor Hall. Didn't work out. It's terrible, but it was a cool move. It was a nice move to see. This is another nice move to see. Will it work out? Who knows? But it's not like Columbus is getting a slouch in Johnny Gaudreau. They're getting a star player, and he is going to be the face of at the end of the day, he signed on, and he is now the face of that franchise. Another free agent signing that we kind of all saw coming. Ottawa signing Claude Giroux to 3 years, 6.5 per, a 3-year, $19.5 million contract. A move we all saw coming. According to reports, Florida was only able to offer him 1 year at $1 million. He was not going to take that deal, even at his age. Even at 34 years old, he's not taking that deal. He's still productive. So it's Ottawa got good. I mean, with as much as you can say when it comes to free agent signing, because I still believe that a lot of success comes through the draft. But locking up Norris to an 8-year contract is a move I like. Signing a good Giroux to the 3-year contract, a move I like. They make their trade to, acquire Cam Talbot. And there's your goalie for the year. They are a team that I don't think make the playoffs, but they definitely make things interesting. And they still have, granted, they got six roster spots to fill, but they do still have 11.5 or so mil in cap space. And it's really something that I'm really interested in what they do, because now you have you got Brady Tkachuk, your face of the franchise there in Ottawa. You got Josh Norris, who's just signed that 8-year deal. You got Claude Giroux. Oh, yeah. They go ahead and they trade for Alex DeBrincat, which is absolutely an incredible move there, going along and getting DeBrincat. Then you have Drake Batherson, who is under contract for 5 more years. I mean, the Austin Watson deal, man. Tim Stützle, I mean, he's got 1 more year at under $1 million. That's a great contract for him. And then on defense, you have Thomas Chabot, Nikita Zaitsev, Travis Hamonic. I mean, they're going to be a much better team. And then you have Cam Talbot at 3.6. They're going to be a better team, and it's real. I want to see how they fill out the rest of their blue line. I do think they need to get another defenseman, and I want to see how they fill the bottom of their lineup. Their bottom 6. So Ottawa is another team in the Atlantic that got better. Another team that got better is Steve Yzerman did Steve Yzerman things. He went out and he went ham on the free agent market, signing Andrew Kopp, which in my mind, I didn't think he was going to leave New York. I thought that was a match made in heaven. But as it got closer, like we talked about last week, it just seemed like the writing was on the wall. Signed a 5-year contract in Detroit. Ben Sherratt, 4-year contract. Kubalik, 2-year contract. David Perron signs his first ever contract that isn't with the St. Louis Blues. He's played for 6 teams now. First time he's ever not signed a contract with the Blues. Mark Pysyk, Oli Mata, 1-year deals. This is a team where I am really interested in how they play. Again, the Atlantic is so tough overall. so tough that it's hard to look at them and say, yeah, they're a playoff team, because you got to think they finished 30. What? Boston was 107. They finished 33 points behind Boston. They finished 6th in the division. Are they good enough to, if things continued, are they good enough to have 100 points next year? If we were to do it. Washington was the second wildcard team with 100 points. They were 26 points below Washington. Did they make the moves to be 26 points better? Even with Ville Husso signing him after acquiring his rights from St. Louis, I don't think they are 26 points better. I could see them being 15 to 20. 26 is a big jump, but it might be a season where 94 to 96 points gets you a playoff spot. We just don't know how things are going to shape up. Obviously, the season hasn't even started, so who knows in that sense what ultimately goes down and where things go from there. Now, we've kind of stuck in the East. The West. So we saw Toronto dish out a lot. They didn't, or Tampa dish out a lot. We'll stick in these for one more minute. Tampa dish out a lot of 8-year deals, but they did lose Andre Palat to the Devils. Pretty a big piece of their cup run gone. But the Western Conference, Edmonton signed Campbell like we all thought. Evander Kane stayed. Brett Kulak gets a 4-year deal. McKegg gets a 2-year deal. They're a team that got better, especially in goaltending, because they finally didn't decide to start like a 40-year-old in net, and that's a win. Jack Campbell had a very up and down season. He got the contract that Toronto didn't want to give him. Toronto ended up going with 2 small deals, and they're going to see what happens. Now, Toronto did get Ilya Samsonov, who I talked about last week as my top goalie on the market once Husso was traded away and signed. But I love him as a prospect. I still think he can be a quality starter, even though it didn't work out in Washington. So I'm really interested to see what happens there. And in Edmonton. Vegas, Vegas is now an expansion team. It took 5 years. They're now an expansion team. And we'll talk about one team I really like the moves they made. And then there's another team that made, I don't want to keep harping on them, but I will. But Vegas finally looks like an expansion team. And I don't know how you justify to fans that things are going well. You acquire Jack Eichel thinking that'll be the piece. Not only do they not make the playoffs for the first time ever, they fire their coach. And now they have Bruce Cassidy, who I think is a 10 times better coach than what they had in Pete DeBoer. I don't think Cassidy should have been let go in Boston, but you know what? That's what they did. So that's what they did. Excuse me. They end up trading Max Pacioretty and trading him Carolina for nothing. Brent Burns and Max Pacioretty go from San Jose and Vegas, respectively, to Carolina. And Carolina has to give up nothing to Vegas for a goal scorer who, when he was healthy last season, he's got 1 year left at $7 million at 33 years old. That's fine. But last season, he finished in 39 games with 37 points. Now, he hasn't played a full season since 2015-16. He missed 1 game in 16-17, but then it's been downhill 64 games, 66, 71, 48, 39. 66, 71, 48, and 39 in 4 years with Vegas. It's all gone downhill, his play, but when he plays, he's still near a point per game. In 48 games in 2021, 2020, 2021, he had 51 points in 48 games. Last year, 37 points in 39 games, a +8, 19 goals, 18 assists. He's still productive. And Carolina, their biggest problem last year, why they lost to the Rangers, was they didn't get scoring when needed, and Pacioretty will come in and provide scoring. But Vegas now looks like a team that, are they a playoff team again? I don't know. They're still up at the cap. They have no cap space. They have no cap space, and they have 16 players on their roster. They still have to figure something out. And it doesn't make it easy. It does not make it easy when you look at Jack Eichel, no movement clause. Mark Stone, no movement clause. William Karlsson, modified no trade clause. Jonathan Marchessault, modified no trade clause. Riley Smith, modified no trade clause. Pietrangelo, no movement clause. Alec Martinez, modified no trade. Brady McNabb, modified no trade. And then they have Shea Theodore under contract for 3 more years. And it's like, are you looking at, is he the guy you're going to, then they have one goalie, Robin Lehner, with a modified no trade for 3 more years. If you're Las Vegas, if you're Vegas, what the hell are you going to do? What are you going to do? You have to make moves. You have to figure things out. And I don't know how they're going to be able to do it right now. Vegas is a team that, holy hell, they need to work some wonders, because right now they're 1.3 over the cap, almost 1.4, with 43 contracts, 16 on their active roster, and a bunch of no trade and no movement clauses. When you're looking at contracts that they can deal with no issues, the biggest contract is Shea Theodore at 5.2 for the next 3 years. Then you're looking at Chandler Stevenson at 2.75 for 2 years. He can be traded. Other than that, you're not really making much of a dent trading, because you got to bring players in. You got to have players. And right now they don't have any players. And they also still have Nolan Patrick, who's on IR. And what are they going to do with him? I mean, he's only a cap hit of 1.2, but he's 23 years old, second overall from 2017. What are they going to do with him? I don't know. It's really interesting to think about. Now, I want to another West team. We do have a bigger story I want to talk on, a more just upsetting, frustrating story, but we'll wrap up with the free agency talk. Not a long show today, just myself. Make sure you are following us on Twitter at NHL, at Full Press NHL. Check out fullpressbets.com. Follow us at Full Press Bets on all social media for the latest betting odds, news, information. My best bets daily. Granted, there hasn't been any the past couple days because there's no. The best thing is the All-Star game, and I don't touch All-Star games. I refuse to touch All-Star games because they're such a crapshoot. I'm not putting money on the line for it. I don't touch them. So one team I really, really liked what they did, and I think it's under the radar. It started when they re-signed a key player in Tomas Hertl, and the San Jose Sharks are a team. They're a bit closer to the cap than I'd like to see, sitting with 1.3 in cap space. But they are a team I really liked what they did. They do have an RFA and Timo Meier coming up after this season, so they got to figure that out. But they were able to dump the contract for the most part. For the most part, they're retaining 2.7 of it for the next 3 years of Brent Burns. And that's good. James Reimer, they have under contract. Capo Kakinen is going to enter the year seemingly as their number one after spending time in Minnesota. I think he could be really well given the opportunity. He wasn't the best in Minnesota, but he did turn things on last year towards the end and before Fleury came into Minnesota. And I think it'll work. Tomas Hertl signed his contract. Logan Couture, that contract's going to be tough to deal with. He's got an $8 million cap hit for the next 5 seasons, and he's 33. Erik Karlsson, that contract is a death knell. They need to find a way to get rid of that at 11.5. They can find a way to get rid of that. I mean, and then you got Mark-Edward Vlasic for 4 more years at 7. He's 35. So they do have work to do. Mike Grier, though, has shown he's not afraid to make the moves he needs to make, and he started that with Brett Burns. The next is trying to dump Erik Karlsson, but who is going to take an 11.5 cap hit for a 32-year-old over the next 5 seasons? Arizona. And the only reason I say Arizona, because they're the only team that ever does it. The only team that ever does it. So that's where we're at with cap. There's still players unsigned. Nazem Kadri is the biggest name unsigned. Interested to see where he's going to go. Phil Kessel, still unsigned. Interested to see if he'll sign anywhere. Patrice Bergeron, it looks like it's Boston or retirement. Nito Niederreiter, PK Subban, still unsigned. John Klingberg, still unsigned. Danny DeKeyser, still unsigned. Brett Connolly, still unsigned. There's some names out there still unsigned. Sonny Milano, still unsigned, who I really thought Buffalo would scoop up day one, but he's still there. So, and there are some teams that need some moves. I have heard of links. This is the one I teased, of Phil Kessel in Buffalo. I'd be really interested to see if that happens and how that would fit. But I'm interested in to see if that would fit at all. Now, what I wanted to talk about, we got more out of Hockey Canada. A story from the Globe and Mail that went live this morning, and it's something we need to talk about. How Hockey Canada used registration fees to build a fund to cover sexual assault claims. Now, if you don't know, the long and short of it is Hockey Canada investigating alleged massive sexual assault, rape by members of the 2018 World Juniors team. And according now to the Globe and Mail, Hockey Canada keeps a special multi-million-dollar fund, which is fed by the registration fees of players across the country, that it uses to pay out settlements in cases of alleged sexual assault without its insurance company and with minimal outside scrutiny. So basically hush money to try and keep everything under wraps. Well, it's not under wraps anymore, and Hockey Canada is imploding. This is an absolute mess. This reserve fund has exceeded $15 million in recent years. Globe and Mail investigation has found. Grant Robertson of the Globe and Mail is the journalist behind this. Be sure to give it a read at theglobeandmail.com. None of how this fund operates is mentioned in their financial reports yearly. And it clearly is a case of they wanted no one to know about this. And people found out. This is an absolute nightmare for Hockey Canada. And I feel bad for any victims that have had to deal with this. And it centers around 2018 right now. And I don't know how anyone in charge in Hockey Canada can remain in their spot, right? Letting this go on. I felt the same after the Blackhawks were exposed, rightfully so, as I do right now. Anyone involved needs to not only lose their jobs, but needs to be held accountable in legal matters. I don't care about hush money, all of that stuff. It doesn't go away, and it shouldn't. because victims, this stuff doesn't go away for victims. They still have to live with it. This is really heartbreaking. And if you don't know, so what happened, what stemmed and what led to this big investigation and what's going on? A claim against Hockey Canada. According to the claim, several hockey players who were in London, Ontario on June 18th, 2018, for an event that honored Canada's 2018 World Junior Team, went to a bar, met a woman, had drinks. This woman ended up getting intoxicated and separated from the friend she was with. And allegedly, according to the claim, went to a hotel room with one of the players. And the player and the claimant engaged in sexual acts, where it all well and good. Fine. What two consenting adults do, I don't. My name's Paul. That's between y'all. Where it gets disgusting and terrible was the player invited others to the room without her consent. And then the claim alleges that over the next several hours, quote, players forced her to have sex and perform other acts which collectively constituted, this is easy for me to say, sexual abuse and assault. Lawyers representing unnamed players say they deny any wrongdoing, but there are some players that aren't talking. And it's the players that aren't talking that we need to get to the bottom of. There's an absolute lot. Robert Thomas has come out and said he's aware of the allegations. He had no involvement, nor did he witness the alleged incident. And he looked forward to cooperating with the NHL investigation. He was a member of that team, and he will not be making any public comments at this time. Players that have come out without statements. Batherson, Bean, Hart, Howden, McLeod, Steele, Steenberg. All of these players need to say something. According to various investigation, if it's true, 2 players were born in 99, 6 others were born in 98. So it does limit down some. But this is a case where everyone involved needs to be held accountable and absolutely needs to lose their jobs. And any players need to be punished criminally, need to be out of the league, plain and simple. If they're in the NHL, they need to be out. If they're playing professional hockey, they need to be out. There's no excuse for anything like this. And it sickens me every day I wake up and I hear more and more stories about this. And I am at a point of wondering, what the hell can I do? I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And I'm sick and tired of it. Sick and tired of it. Man, and there's going to be more to come out of this. There's going to be a lot more to come out of this in the very near future. We can bet. But that is where we're going to wrap up this week. Again, it was a short show by myself. So we're going to wrap up this week's edition of Full Press Hockey Weekly. Next week, we will be back. Once again, we're going to start our off-season previews. Stay tuned to Full Press NHL on Twitter for the and Full Press NHL on Facebook for the announcement of what teams we will start with. Stay tuned to Full Press Hockey for the latest on NHL Free Agency. Make sure you follow us Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Mike Straw Media. Until next time, take care, respect one another, be safe.